Welcome. We missed last week in our series. I was out of town working at a client event, but we're back. And because we're entering the last couple of months of the year, it's 2023. If you're watching this later, I'm going to talk about some strategic moves that we're making and we're recommending to a lot of our clients to prepare for 2024 in podcasting and YouTube for personal brands, because a lot has happened this year and there's some really cool, exciting updates and developments, and I want you to be in a really empowered, smart, strategic place to decide how you want to use your podcast or start a podcast entering into 2024 or sometime in next year, because there are so many things now to take into consideration that just weren't an option before. So let's start at the top with the obvious one. YouTube finally is turning on audio only connection to your podcast. So that means you can have your audio only show that's already existing or is new. You can directly connect it to YouTube and it will publish your audio only episodes on your YouTube channel. We don't know exactly yet what that'll look like, if they'll just put up like a static image like your podcast artwork and it'll just play audio only on like a video, or if they'll actually kind of create a new little thing that will look like audio only. But either way, by the end of the year, so literally any day now, they're rolling it out in the US first. YouTube is going to make it really easy for audio first podcasters to publish their episodes to YouTube without really having to do anything extra, which is huge if you've been audio podcasting or wanting to audio podcast and been like, I know YouTube is a huge platform where tons of people are looking for my content, but I don't want to put up video. So that's a big one. If you feel or know that your best foot forward, playing to your strengths, all the things we talk about on this series is audio first, then you don't have to miss out on YouTube going forward. And that's a big one. YouTube is a very different platform than podcast apps. And so it's not like exactly the same process to create a really successful YouTube channel, but there's no reason not to connect your audio podcast to YouTube going forward, which is really big and saves a lot of time and money for a lot of people who didn't really want to do video on YouTube, but felt like they kind of had to. You won't have to anymore. And you can still have your podcast on YouTube. So that's point number one. Really take YouTube seriously going into 2024, whether you do audio or you decide to do video, because it's one of the most, if not the most popular listening app across the world, and obviously viewing app for content, long form, short form, all kinds. And podcasters have done really well on YouTube when they've understood how to make content that audiences love on that app, to state the obvious. But now you kind of will have an option to create really good audio content and share it on the same app for people who are already there or who are looking for your type of show. YouTube is an amazing search engine. We've talked about this on other episodes. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, they're not great search engines. And so YouTube is a big leg up in helping you be found by the people looking for your content. So that's strategy point number one. Pretty straightforward, pretty obvious, but I don't want you to miss out on this if you haven't really gotten that news. Point number two that I think is really valuable, that we're talking to all of our clients about going into the new year, is that if you want to build your personal brand as a speaker, as someone who's really well known for your thought leadership or your particular kind of expertise, curriculum, if you want to build your media presence in general, maybe you're looking to do more media or partner with brands to be like a co-host or a brand safe figure that they can tap to be an ambassador for their brand, YouTube video is super, super valuable. And I'm specifically talking to you if you're a personal brand, if your business is you, like coach, consultant, author, speaker type of person, founder of a business. If you already have a large following, people know who you are, they're interested in what you have to say, putting your podcast on YouTube with a video is very strategic because it literally builds your visual recognizability. And it allows you to get the media training and the practice so that when people are interested in booking you to speak, coming as a guest on a podcast, maybe co-hosting a special series, moderating a Q&A panel at like a large event, maybe just hiring you to come train their team at their corporate retreat. Having really good YouTube footage of you teaching, talking, explaining, conversing, hosting is very convincing that you can do it well. And so if you are a personal brand who wants more of those opportunities, and if that's like one of your priorities in the coming year, I would strongly recommend thinking about putting the video version of your podcast on YouTube. Now, in the past, that meant like a pretty hefty price tag with an editor, and it was a little bit cost prohibitive for a lot of people. I think that's changing in a big way, and it really happened this year. The apps that allow you to record video remotely, Riverside, Squadcast, Zencaster, those are just like 3 off the top of my head, but there's more. They have made leaps and bounds in creating really easy to use platforms just on the web. Like you go to the website and you record online. You don't even have to download an app like you do with Zoom. They have made such huge progress, every one of them this year, in making their tools way better, higher quality, easier to use, AI enabled, transcript connected. Like, it is so much easier than ever before to essentially automate your podcast video recordings if you're doing them remotely, or if you're just doing solo, like just you to the camera. And then you can get really way better quality. You can even edit a little bit. You can edit via the transcript. You can edit just by watching through or listening through. You can add in little bits and bobs to the beginning and the end. Like, these were not possible even like a year ago for most apps. And they've come such a long way. So for a lot of our clients at Worthville Media, we're advising them to actually do less editing and increase the places where their show is, especially their video content, because they have so many more affordable options now to get pretty good content. Of course, it will never look like a human editor went in and did everything beautifully, but I want you to be really thoughtful about like your budget and your bandwidth and your audience. Like, is your audience big enough yet to even merit having that kind of budget on your show? Yes, a really good show costs thousands of dollars per episode to produce. You should come to a studio. You should have multicam. You should have a videographer and a producer. You should have great editing, like graphics, speech cleanup, all of that. I totally stand behind. We make those kinds of shows. But for most people, that's actually not the smartest option, because you're spending tons of money on something that probably isn't going to bring you the return on investment as quickly as you'd like if you don't already have a pretty large established audience, or you're not prepared to like blow up in a really big way. That's a whole other episode we can talk about. But you really don't want to go viral before you're ready. So I'm actually advising a lot of our clients who are still sort of in the building phase or in the first year of their show to go unedited and use a product like Riverside, which is a great remote recording platform online, to record their podcast episodes and then just barely edit them at all and publish them on YouTube with the video, publish them on podcast apps with the audio. The quality of your content won't be determined by the editing. That's like a whole other episode. But I think it's a fallacy a lot of young podcasters get into, where they're like, is the editing's going to make or break this thing? Actually, no, you are going to make or break the show. You as the show host are. And it really won't come down to the editing. Editing is super powerful and a great lever to pull once you already have a really large audience, a large production budget, and you can add that polish and that interest that editing provides, and you'll get a really quick return on investment because there's already a large audience who's responding. That's where editing really can like pull its weight. For most podcasters, they're not that experienced. They don't have that big of a budget. And so just don't edit your show. Like, you will get better a lot quicker if you listen to yourself unedited, and it will really help you focus in on what makes you a good show host than if you're kind of being this is not like, don't take this wrong, don't take this personally. But it was easy to be lazy if you have a great editor, because you can kind of just say whatever and they'll clean it up for you. It doesn't help you become a better show host. Being unedited helps you really quick realize how to be a better show host. So that's point number 2. Really consider video on YouTube strongly this year if you're not already. And if you're trying to make it work with your budget, just use a great platform like Riverside, or come into a studio obviously our studio's in Salt Lake City, but like come to a studio and get nice video taken and nice audio recorded, and then like really don't edit it. Just like put it up the way it got recorded, and pay attention to your episodes and like really give yourself feedback and get better quickly by being your own critic, not in a bad way, in a good way. Okay. Tip number 3 that I see being very relevant for personal brand podcasts in 2024 is the whole world of monetization. And part of this is because there's been, a lot of, I wouldn't say peaks and valleys, but I would say there's been a lot of movement this year in advertising revenue within podcasting. It's gone up, it's gone down. We're kind of in a recession of one kind or another. And so advertisers are thinking differently about their ad dollars. And there's still tons of money in podcast advertising and in YouTube ads. But I want you to think much more strategically about how you can monetize your show to pay the bill of your production, pay you hopefully some profit. And it might be advertising. You might be able to just start small with doing your own ad management through a great agency like the ASA Collective. They're amazing and they're network agnostic, and anyone can sign up with them no matter how big or small their show is. And you can start learning how to manage your own ads in a pretty pain-free way. Or you can decide to really focus on building your YouTube channel and get to monetization that way quicker. 1,000 subscribers, 4,000 hours of watch time. Maybe you're really good at shorts and you can monetize your shorts quicker. I also want you to obviously consider selling your own products and services on your show, and don't just like think of that as a good idea, like actually do it. I think a lot of our clients will have that conversation early on with them, and then it's really easy to like forget or put it off to the side or be like, I'll do that later. And 6 months, 12 months can go by and you might not have ever told anyone on your show like what they can buy from you, how they can work with you, what offerings you have. So if you've kind of felt like, wow, podcasting is expensive, I feel like it's slow going, I'm trying to build this thing, really take a strategic look at what of your own products and services you can sell this next year on your podcast with a simple ad, 30 seconds or less is very effective, and start doing those. Start recording them either right in the middle of the episode, or, you can pre-record them to have your editor put them in. But I would say the era of the creator economy where people were just doing a ton of work for free, that's kind of winding down. Like that's gotten old to a lot of creators, as it should. Your work is valuable. It's totally legit to get paid for it, but you need to be strategic and think through like what makes the most sense for me to monetize. Maybe you start partnering with other show hosts and doing much more collaboration or mini series. Maybe you explore premium podcast subscriptions. There's so many ways you can monetize, but if you don't make it a goal, you'll probably just never get to it. Okay, I'm going to leave it there for today. Those are probably my 3 best pieces of advice for personal brand podcasters to think about going into the new year. And of course, leave a comment if you want to know more, if you have questions. I'm happy to do more videos on this. If you're one of our clients, we'll obviously be covering this in our end of year recap call with you. But I'm excited for all the opportunities coming this new year that are kind of already here, and some of them are about to be here. So subscribe to our channel. We're going to bring you more updates and more tips as the year progresses.